We have to introduce our guest.
Yes.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
You're going to love this guy.
I love his name.
Marcell Strbich. Do we say it right, Marcell?
You got it.
I've never known a Strbich.
We're probably the only
B
one in
silent?
Ohio.
Strbich?
Yeah,
Strbich.
So he is running for Ohio Secretary of State. Now, we had Robert Sprague in studio, who's already the state treasurer, who has been backed by the Ohio Republican Party. But you know what Marcell says? Wait, not so fast. I can do this job. Tell us about yourself.
Well, in Ohio, by way of marriage, my wife's not far from Delaware County, and I got started really with my family in the restaurant business, 50 Style Diner in Chicago, out of all places.
Wow,
and we worked together. It's kind of an ethnic story, a first-generation American story. And as I came of age, we had 9/11, and I was moved by what I saw, just like a lot of us have, over time gone into the service, and I wanted to do something about it. And I set a path to become an officer and go through ROTC, and I did that. And within a year of having commissioned, I was sent to the Middle East. And from there, it was about 10 years of war on terror missions that extended from Afghanistan to Iraq, multiple deployments to the Horn of Africa. Pretty much saw the world in the whole mission. And the mindset at the time was keep America safe. And, of course, we were, building nation states, democracy overseas. And the irony is, here I am back in Ohio, after 20 years, because I had kind of ascended to the top of the Pentagon. I worked for the Vice Chairman, Joint Chiefs. I was given responsibility to oversee a big modernization for information systems, $25 billion responsibility. And, I've led people in all kinds of environments, tactical, operational, strategic. And the irony is, when you think about it, what are our election systems? What were we doing overseas versus what are we doing here in the United States? So people have, over time, come to dismiss our elections, right? They've come to ask questions. Those questions have sometimes been censored. We saw that in the last 5-6 years. And, people have moved away from that. And I thought this is a real challenge for America, because if people lose trust and confidence in this core institution, what will the future bring, right? How will people view their voice in this country, and if it matters or if they find it legitimate or not? And as I came back into Ohio, moved by what I saw during COVID, which, after the 2020 election, the military really did an about-face. We were now promoting not merit, but we were promoting social ideology and promoting on that basis, which was really disconcerting for me to see that up front and personal. And then, of course, came the mandates and the what I would say is the illegitimate interpretation of those, the intimidation, the coercion of service members, many of them honorably who served overnight, were really challenged and pushed out. And I said, well, this is a big injustice. And I kind of took it on a personal level to speak in that regard and to push back against these kind of things. Yeah.
While you said that, I want to ask you, because I'm glad you touched on that. Why did they want it to go to a different direction? You probably don't understand as much as we don't understand. What was the Biden administration up to? Were they trying to make us weak, in your opinion, or what's your opinion on all that?
Well, just look at the way our country has been kind of going, right, ever since, I'd say, the 2009, 2010 Obama administration, right?
Okay.
The military has always been this apolitical institution. No matter what divisions we have as a society, we always tend to look at the military as a moral compass.
Okay.
And you will see, like, in terms of both sides try to claim the military's righteousness, right? And what I think was going on in the last 10, 15 years is we were using, and we still do this, I think, with institutions in the government. We try to imbue a social ideology and beliefs in them. We saw it with police in 2020, right? There was an entire movement that sprang up across the country to try to characterize police in ways that I thought was degrading and dehumanizing, and that wasn't helpful. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the post-2020 election as just another manifestation of that, right? We were starting to deconstruct the system of merit in the military. And, my interpretation of it is, they're trying to create a loyalty, a type of institution that is politicized. And that's not really where most Americans are, or not what they expect their military to be. And I just happen to be at the forefront of that. And I realized, on this current course or trajectory we're on, that's going to be a real issue for us if any of these core institutions become politicized. Well, the term that's used is weaponized. So, I kind of sprang out of that, and I said, I've got to become more involved and act. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do that in the military. So I went, and thought, get back to Ohio, see what's going on in Ohio. I have a family at that point. I got like a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And we get to Montgomery County in Dayton, Ohio, and I start to run, on issues of medical freedom in this case, post COVID, right? Because a lot of people had their rights kind of taken from them and their jobs were lost and that kind of thing. And I thought nothing was corrected from 2020. We still have those core issues. And I saw a election in Dayton, Ohio that was decided 20 days after the results were overturned and votes were counted up to 20 days later and without dual observers. I thought this isn't just an issue in some of these swing states. This is an issue even here in Ohio.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to oversight and accountability, and we've clearly lost that in many ways. And that's when I decided that I was going to take matters into my own hands and use my knowledge and my skills from the military as an intelligence officer, someone who knows how to analytically look at the issues. And I studied the entire election process, laws, procedures in Ohio. And what I discovered really led me to believe that the core issues we've had, the buildup of these problems, goes back 30, 40 years.
Right.
Before we get into more of the reasoning why you want to run and the uphill battle that you're facing, to be honest with you, I do want to ask you the questions about the military. It has changed dramatically with Trump getting back into the White House, with Pete Hegseth. Do you agree with the changes that they're implementing, that it should be based more on merit?
Yes, and I think the military's purpose is obviously organize, train, and equip, so warfighting, right? And so when we start to imbue like political value systems in there, that takes away from it. It actually plants the seeds of division, right? And that's not the way. That's not the military and the mission sets that I work with people from all backgrounds. So yes, I think they're on the right track.
Good.
Okay.
All right. That's perfect for me.
I
like
we
it.
still have a couple more minutes. Do you agree with everything that's going on in Iran right now and America's stance on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a manifestation of 30, 40 years of us kicking the can down the road. Some administrations gave them money to negotiate. Some administrations tried sanctions. At what point do we deal with the menace, right?
Yeah.
We have to deal with it. Now, are we going to deal with it like we did with Iraq and Afghanistan? No. What we're going to do is we're going to calculate, and project the type of military operation that weakens it. And if you think about the way we've conducted military operations, if we had done it like this the last year, when you see Venezuela and when you see Iran, if we had done that with Iraq and Afghanistan, we wouldn't have spent over $2 trillion in 20, 30,000 deaths and, however many infirmities from service members that came back. I feel like at least this administration has finally figured out, don't commit yourself to something indefinitely, right? Don't try to build a nation out and neglect our own home country. And so, I'm more optimistic that this administration knows how to find and take the off-ramp.
All right.
We are talking with Secretary of State candidate Marcell Strbich. We just like to say that name.
All right. 98.9.
Strbich.
The answer.
Oh, my gosh. Boots is sitting right next to me. We're
Just
talking
sprayed water everywhere.
to Marcell Strbich, who is a candidate for Ohio's Secretary of State. And all of a sudden, we're like in conversation and commercial break, and I hear this noise to the right of me, and I thought Boots just puked up all this water. There's stuff all over your computer screen, your desk. What happened there, Boots?
I took a drink the same time, and I'm really wimping out on the broken rib thing, and sometimes I breathe funny. And he just said it. I took a drink the same time I was breathing because something kicked back on me. I backfired like a 57 Chevy with a big ball.
Marcell, you saw that live because my face was turned in the other direction, but you were looking right at me.
I had a full frontal of that, and I thought we had man down for the count. Man down. You and I are going solo on this next one.
Yeah, we can do that.
This whole breathing thing.
Breathe, Boots. You okay?
I'm good.
So that rib's still bugging you.
Oh, it's so horrible. You guys know I cut the end of my finger off, and they sewed it back on. It's dead, but it's still there.
I see a Band-Aid on top of
But
your
I
head
would
now.
rather, that's healing really well. I got a dog story when we get a second. I saved a dog the other day. That's how I laid my head back on 3C.
All right.
You'll hate this story when I tell you. But anyway,
the dog was saved. I will like this story.
I found the owners,
that's
and
fine.
Sunbury police were awesome. Everybody involved was awesome.
All right. So our guest today in studio, and we are also on Boots' Facebook page, so you can see him for yourself. We can go back between, here we go. There's Boots and I. Wave to the camera, Boots. Hello. And the other camera shows Marcell Strbich running for Secretary of State for the state of Ohio, obviously. Really, in as quick of an answer as you can think of. Mm-hmm. Why do you really want to do this? Because it is an uphill battle for you.
Listen, I'm a political outsider, and if I thought there was somebody better in this race who can do the job and would get the issues taken care of that have made people insecure and untrusting about elections, I would be more than happy to help them, vote for them. But there comes a time and a place in choosing in your life when you believe in a cause so strongly, you've dedicated 3 years as a volunteer to work toward improving and making a positive difference. And the politics of Columbus is so gross in that everybody's looking to protect themselves, their future careers. Nobody wants to go on record and say, hey, yeah, this is messed up. Because if they do, then they got to admit that they got to fix it. And I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I found that to be common amongst them. And I think these people just want to stay there. We have a system of musical chairs going on right now, right? I got nothing against my opponent, but he has no experience in this. He thinks he can just transition from the treasurer to the Secretary of State, and it's all copacetic, and it's not. Okay.
But he's got the backing right now from the Ohio Republican Party. That's hard to overcome because it's like he's part of the establishment and you're the little guy, so to speak.
Mindy, that's not how politics, the way I see it, work anymore, especially after President Trump. That used to be the case.
You'd like to think that. You know, you would like to think that that matters. And I'm glad that you're in the fight and throwing your hat in the ring.
I agree with what he just said because I don't really care who endorses anybody anymore. I care about what their beliefs and what they want to do.
Absolutely.
That's what
the way it should be, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
But do you feel like it's an uphill climb for you?
I feel like it's an up. This is the way I look at it, right? This is a guy who's gone to war, who's seen, people depart on the battle space, who's had to grind and work one time 6 months straight, 7 days a week, 12 to 15 hours doing capture kill operations, right? To me, this is nothing to run the purpose of defending the elections integrity of our country.
Good point,
when I look at the fortitude of the guy I'm running against, he doesn't have it. I'm not being disparaging. He does not have the ethic. He does not have the message or the passion. He's taking my messages that I have said for months. He's trying to restate them, and everyone's saying he sounds a lot like Marcell Strbich. And that's because he's campaigning like a retail politician. And I'm just going out there. I'm just going out there, and I'm slinging it. I'm letting people know this is what's wrong with your election systems. People can get registered in Ohio by somebody who's taken their identity and information without their knowledge and can request them at no excuse mail-in absentee ballot. That's wrong. We need to look at election systems like they're a risk management framework. We need to look at them like I did for 20 years trying to identify and detect combatants, just like I want to identify and detect fraud in and around Columbus. And by the way, the Secretary of State can't do that. They can create a process and overview for questionable business filings. We can do far more in identifying billions of dollars. In fact, it was just reported by the auditor who went before the Senate Medicaid Joint Committee and said that $1.6 billion or 40% of our state's Medicaid budget is located within a 4-mile radius of Morse Road. Morse Road in Columbus. So we already have identified the area of operation, if you think about it. So why haven't we stood up a task force? And why isn't the Secretary of State, the auditor, the Attorney General, and our governor working in tandem right now to combine their legal authorities and their investigative bodies to get at this problem set?
So that's something that you would do. You would initiate that if you are Ohio's Secretary of State.
Not only would I initiate it, I'd probably provide the expertise because I served on a task force. It just happened to be for counterterror threat finance in the National Capital Region back in 2017. And if you could believe it, one of our problem sets was the Horn of Africa and Somali cash courier networks. And so I am the only candidate, while I may have not been prior elected, neither was Senator Bernie Moreno, neither was Senator Vance. By the way, Senator Vance earned zero party endorsements. And by the way, the ORP didn't want him. They didn't want President Trump. They don't want political outsiders. But when they get in, all of a sudden, the revisionist history comes in. By the way, we're winning in this race. People don't want to talk about it, but I'm the only candidate with a scientific poll that shows that we're up 8 points.
Whoa.
The initial ballot, we were up 12-4. We have equal favorability. Okay, better favorability and equal name ID.
Okay.
Equal name ID. It's because these guys have been running in the system as down ballot candidates that are benefiting from who runs at the top of the ticket. Ohioans don't know my opponent. And they're coming to know me as a problem solver and somebody who looks at this and says, okay, this person's genuine about addressing election insecurity, knows his stuff, knows about the fraud issues, it will do something about it. And the reason I can say that unequivocally is because I am not interested in a political career or sticking around to be the governor. If you want to be the governor, just think about it, which is what my competitor wants to be, right? He's not going to be able to be bold with any of these decisions because if he is, he's going to be worried about his electability.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
This is the point.
Right. Okay.
You got to understand the mindset of the career politician. Their job is to act like They can get through the system, do as least amount as possible, make the small things that they do appear far greater than what they are.
And try not to tick anybody off.
And try not to tick anybody off, which is why he gets the Ohio Republican Party's endorsement, because he's a good corporate guy who does what he's told. And that's not what people in Ohio care about anymore. We care about results.
So let me ask about the Minnesota and the Somali. You said the word Somali a few times.
He said fraud.
Yeah,
that's
fraud.
the big thing.
Yeah, fraud. When you see the stuff that what's his name, tampon guy,
Tim Walz,
tampon Timmy.
Oh
What's the stuff he's done? Well, that's his nickname. What he's done. Does that make your skin just crawl? The amount of money that they've swiped from our country. And where's it going?
What bothers me is it funnels its way back into the parties and into the candidates. And you can see that. If you look at open financial disclosures, you'll find that 2 of the state Democrat reps, who happen to be also first-generation Somali origin, are receiving money from home health or daycares. So does that signify anything illegal? No, because the way our system currently works, which, by the way, Secretary of State has oversight of campaign finance. That's yet another thing that I could provide, is a level of transparency and third-party oversight of the way money goes into politics.
Wow.
You know what I like about Marcell? He's in studio right now. He's talking so passionately. He's speaking with 100% knowledge. He didn't bring in one piece of paper with him. He's not looking at notes. No. He's got nothing rehearsed. He had no idea what type of questions we were going to ask. He just rolls with it. And I think that is something to be said. A friend and neighbor of mine said that she listened to you speak before and was extremely impressed. You have to be busy. Obviously, the May primary is coming up. This next month of April, you're going to be, I'm sure, hitting the ground running, going from every corner of the state to the next. Do you have the stamina to do that, Marcell?
Oh, that's a great question. I absolutely have the stamina, and I'm 44, and I'm the youngest candidate running other than Vivek, who's 40. And again, what causes me to have that stamina? Well, first, the first-generation immigrant mom who, wasn't afraid to use a device to hit me over the head, if I was, and so, work ethic is built in me. And then again, having worked in, much more complex and difficult environments downrange, with the military, this is like a cakewalk in terms of at least the work ethic aspect.
Awesome.
Does he remind you of Bernie Moreno at all?
He does. How are you and Bernie's relationship?
Good. I mean, I respect Bernie, and I'm grateful that he stepped up when he did. He didn't need to become a senator. He's been obviously doing what he says he wanted to do, especially on the issues of immigration. He's also pretty much a straight shooter. He's been a pleasant surprise. He's taken leadership roles very quickly. I think he should endorse in this race because I'm a political outsider, but he doesn't have to. I mean, I get it, when you're already in the system and then everybody's going to come at you.
Would he be going up against the grain?
Oh, well, perhaps. You'll have to ask him. A lot of people have asked him about me, and, he has positive things to say, but it's okay. You know why I like that nobody necessarily has done it? Because I'm going to do it like Sinatra. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it my way. And when I do it my way, we win a historic upset on May 5th.
Yeah.
Right? Because people are tired of the same old grain of recycled career politician in Ohio.
We are.
I think people do get sick and tired of the same old system, the same old thing. And I think people are hungry for change, not just here in Ohio, but across the country. And they do not like career politicians. If there's one thing that should change, it is term limits. That's my opinion.
But if you're in there, why would you vote against it? So
exactly. So if you have a question for Marcell, anything about maybe his family, we haven't really touched on your family. We'd like to do that a little bit more. We have one more segment with Marcell, who is running for Secretary of State here in Ohio. The phone number is, give him to him, Boots.
614-793-1957. That's 793-1957.
We are so honored, very, very honored to have Ohio Secretary of State candidate Marcell Strbich in studio. And listen, we will let anybody come in studio and talk to us about why people in Ohio should vote for them. Last time when we had his opponent up, because this is a primary, Republicans are going up against each other, Democrats are going up against each other, and I got, hate on my Facebook page. Do you guys only interview Republicans? Why don't you interview the... We will interview anybody at any time.
You're a lot nicer than me because I tear them Democrats up.
Reached out to us and, hey, so can you get Marcell on the air? Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
So if you reach out to Boots, you reach out to myself, we will, of course, have you on the air with us. We are not picking favorites. We simply want to give you, the listener, a lot of information so when you head to the polls, you can make the right choice.
Do you think politicians get to the point where they just roll over on their back and scratch my belly? I've got the good job. I've got the great health care. I've got everything I've worked somewhat hard to get. And they just don't care. They get into the swamp. Because a lot of guys I've seen and girls over the years get elected that I thought, man, they're going to go and change. And they get right into the groove and don't do a daggone
get affected by lobbyists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some things happen that transform their thought process. You know, whatever you end up doing in life, even if you're in politics or, you know, you're in business, there's constraints, there's competing interests.
Right.
And, you know, you run on these things with the best intent. And I think certain times you get in and you realize, wow, I can only go as fast as my, you know, bureaucracy can go, right? And that's really what hit President Trump in 2016. So, yes, that happens. However, it's incumbent on us to identify individuals with courage who are willing to speak out and use their bully pulpit, right? When they get in and to frame their conscience, right? Because we all have a conscience, what's right, what's wrong, but also remember what it is that you have said you want to do. And I think the success to future elected officials is if you go in, you say you're going to do this, and you apply all your energy and effort in doing that, whether you succeed or you fail, and you come back and you say, this is what I did for you, or this is what I attempted to do, this is how it ended up, this is why, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt from people, because people will take somebody who's authentic about it, somebody who's fought the good fight, any and every time than somebody who basically sold out to their own personal interests.
And I think that's why President Trump has such a huge following. He is doing what he said he was going to do. You may like it, you may hate it, whatever, but that is the person that you voted for. And I really think that he doesn't care about the noise. He doesn't care about the backlash because he feels in his heart of hearts that he's doing the right thing for the United States of America. You think he cares that there were all these No Kings rallies? No.
Hey, you see his tweet?
I didn't, but I don't.
Great.
Hey, you have a question. Scoop is on the line for you. Scoop, you have a question for Marcell. What is it, buddy?
Marcell, I live in Ground Zero, corner of Morris Road and Westerville Road. Between Westerville Road all the way down to Cleveland Avenue, every business is Muslim. You can't even read the signs. They're all Muslim Arabic. You have to win that district. How do you do that when no one speaks English down there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I carry this message everywhere, right? And I'm not your typical politician that's going to go out and just going to try to pander to a given community, right? I'm here to address the issues when it comes to what's under the authority of the Secretary of State, right? I want clean voter rolls. I want to get us back to an election day, not an election season. Anybody who registers to vote has to be fully qualified and eligible up front. These are the basics. We got away from these things. And I'm also calling for the Secretary of State to do more to investigate some of those businesses in that community, in that area. Now, not just because they're in that area, but because there's some activity that has already been pre-identified as questionable. And so the idea is let's leverage the resources within the department that we have and look into that.
$1.6 billion.
$1.6 billion. 40% of all Medicaid expenditures from home health services. That's officially from the auditor of this state. I think he knows, right? So, yeah, I think it's interesting that you're in that area. Was it always like that, Scoop?
No, he's gone.
But we do have another call.
Let's go to Pete. You got for us, Pete?
Yes. Good afternoon.
Hi, Pete.
I apologize if you've already talked about this. I didn't catch the first part of the conversation. But did you mention anything about what the plan is to prosecute people who commit fraud? I'm so tired of judges in Franklin County being lenient, and I realize that it's not a criminal position that you hold per se, but if you didn't mention, what's the plan to deal with the fraud in terms of coming down more harshly on people, since that would be a deterrent, obviously. Could you please talk about your plan for that?
Got a minute for that answer.
Yeah, we got to first investigate the questionable activity. Then when we identify it and we lock it in and do some corroboration, we're talking then criminal referrals, to which you're correct. County prosecutors have, in the case of voter registration fraud, not pursued it. So the next step to do is take that up to the Department of Justice. They have signaled that they're more interested in being supportive of that. But I'll tell you what I would do to preempt all this, because all politicians are reactive to these problems. Go back to the source of it. In the case of voter registration, create a system where you qualify eligibility up front and make sure that third-party groups can't use stolen identity information to submit those in the first place. And so that's where I'm very strong in this regard, because I've done the full review of how our current process works, who has access to what authoritative information and doesn't. If we can prevent it, like Benjamin Franklin said, right? An ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. Then we save ourselves from having to mitigate it. Thank you.
So the people that are now saying that said there was no voter fraud at all, but they're finding out there was. So now they say, well, even if you count the ones that were fraudulent, it still didn't make a difference whether Trump got elected or not. I shake my head. One is too many. It's like a rape. One rape is too many. One murder is too many. And the left will say, well, you know, the Americans kill people all the time. Why are you so hard on this illegal immigrant? I'm like, because if he wasn't here, that would have been one less murder.
Will you and your opponent debate? Have you had a debate yet?
I said anytime, anywhere, any place. He formally refused. He doesn't want to debate. But would you want to debate me?
Not really.
I wouldn't want to debate him.
Because your facts are amazing.
Right.
Hey, you're going to be, though, you are making your way all across the state of Ohio. You're going to be at one of my favorite places ever in the state. You're going to be at Cranberries at Indian Lake.
Yes, I am. Headed up there. It's going to be great. We have a billboard going up there. It's going to be some billboards. Yeah.
Have you been to Cranberries yet?
No, not yet. I have a good friend. I mean, these are salt of the earth people up there. They love it. You know, I'm going to resonate with them. I resonate with all Ohioans because I'm a kitchen table kind of guy, right? I look at what matters to people the most. That's where I put my effort and message.
We talked about your wife being from Delaware County. How many kids do you have?
We got 3, 8, 6, and 2.
Wow. And he's going to be running the campaign.
Where's the 4?
8, 6, and 2.
You left that 4. You got a little gap there now. That's every other year.
Make it even?
I'm not having enough time for some of those extracurriculars.
All boys, all girls, all what?
I got one girl. She's 2.
That's awesome.
She's a little apple.
The brothers will take care of it. That's awesome.
You have 1 minute left to say anything you want to the listeners right now about why they should vote for you, Marcell Strbich, for Ohio Secretary of State.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come on this great show. Listen, at the end of the day, we've kicked the can down the road for 20, 30 years. We've been complacent about the way we qualify, voting, eligibility. There comes a time when we have to address issues and not leave it to future generations. I don't need this job for a pension. I don't need this job for a salary. I'm taken care of. I'm willing to sacrifice like I did 20 years in the Air Force so that we can pass on a better election system, that we can tackle the fraud that's going to obviously impoverish us. And I'm genuine in that regard, and I have the means and the capability to do the job more so than even the other candidates. And I'm humbly asking for everybody's vote May 5th, 2026. Marcell Strbich, Republican, Ohio Secretary of State. Early voting starts April 7th. And I'd be the honor of my life to serve the many great Ohioans that deserve good leadership.
And you're leading right now.
Thank you.
Leading the polls, he says.
You did an awesome job. You got right now. He's leading my vote.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know, anyone with a military background, Boots is all
got your
in.
back, man.
My dad served as a United States Marine in the Korean War, so
That's where you get your moxie from.
My moxie. I got plenty of moxie. That's for sure.
Brian from Columbus Pest Control's up next. So
Real quick, you got 10 seconds. How can people get more information? You have a website?
Go to Strbich, Strbich, spelled out FOR, Ohio.com. And if you could support us in any way, we accept donations. Thank you.
All right, we're on Raw with Mindy and Boots, protected by Tattletale on 98.9 The Answer.